I really think that most of the guys who became very talented at poker have like a very, left brain, analytical, logical problem-solving nature, and something about like people and dialogue, words, aesthetics don't really appeal to them, and they see it as something they kind of have to do in order to get what they want. And so it doesn't shock me that they just don't bother in many cases, and that they're happy to leave it to somebody like me who enjoys doing it.
Big events like the World Series bring all kinds of poker players together, but not everyone understands how big a role networking plays in getting into the high-stakes side games. For pros looking to book big scores, it's often not what you know, it's who you know.
Just like last year, basically this huge cash game broke out at the Aria, and a lot of our good friends that we play with a lot from Macau are here, and so we've been playing this for about 2 weeks straight. It's incredible. In that game, nobody is there to make a living. They all come from, successful businesses that they do in their full time, and so this is just a great release. And so what you get are really interesting, fun people that talk a lot about really interesting things. It's just a great environment. If you put a lot of sort of grinders in the game, I think it would change it. That's why, to be quite honest with you, I've gotten a little frustrated this year with a lot of the tournament play. Particularly the one drop was excruciatingly frustrating. A lot of these kids, I think, were playing their case money, and every decision took 3 or 4 minutes. People were tanking for 10, 15 minutes at a time, and to be quite honest with you, for me, it ruined it.
The older players are used to poker being this very social game, or at least like semi-social game, and that was part of what they showed up for. Meanwhile, the online guys didn't get into it for that reason, and a lot of the guys that developed a lot of talent were already not that interested in people. But there's a very workman-like feel to most poker tournaments I go to now. It's like, we're here, we have to be here, hopefully it's our turn to win the flips and grind out our edge and realize our equity. Oh God, I just got 3 outed and I'm pissed. And so like, it doesn't surprise me that it's just not as fun as it used to be.
When I play in tournaments, what I see are really, really thoughtful, smart, young, but very mechanical thinkers. But when you play in cash games, there's this like nuance about taking risk that very few of these young players have. They just don't have the heart to make those calls. And so it's interesting, business people play poker in a very different way, I think. It is much more about the intuition and the ability to pick your spots and be able to go with it and take a lot of unbounded risk in ways that I think a lot of the tournament kids I don't really see have it.
Nevada gaming laws are designed to keep poker games open to everyone, but wealthy, high-stakes players can take advantage of loopholes to keep their games exclusive. Players who are in it just to make a buck but haven't done the networking will often find themselves on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want pros in the game for the most part, but then there's certain pros that are networked in, and that's just never really been one of my priorities to worry about networking in poker. It's just, I'd rather play against all pros than have to, put on some type of front in order to get into certain games. And, people are gonna go about their different ways of getting into these games, and I just have never chose to go that route.
They don't want any regulars, and they do take all these steps to make sure nobody gets in. Like yesterday, for example, Tom was taking a seat, but he was sleeping the entire time. So they just put his name on the seat, and that prevented anyone from sitting there. They're not doing anything like particularly unethical. They're just like trying to keep the game in a way that they want it. I can't say that's unfair, and even saying so doesn't benefit me or anybody really. It's not like they're going to stop doing it.
We had a little situation at the Aria that's supposed to be being taken care of, and we'll see. I mean, like, I'm going to take their word for it and leave it alone for now, but if things aren't different by next World Series, then I have no problem standing up for what is right.
They aren't very good about getting themselves into games with a soft touch. They tend to be kind of forceful. So, I know recently, Greg Merson had this big thing with JRB where he called him out on Twitter about getting into the private games, and I thought, well, Greg Merson is right about what's going on there in the whole JRB situation, but the way he approached it will not help him get into those games. And I see online poker players make that kind of mistake a lot, which is, you cannot force people when they already have control over the access to the games. And so you really have to convince them, influence them to let you in because they like you, or they think you're going to be valued, they think you're going to be fun in the game, or whatever it is.
In the game, they want it to be a soft game. They want it to be mostly fish or people that just aren't that good. It's like one of the softest games that runs, so I'm trying to get in it. I really am trying. I'm doing everything I can.